It's Sunday, July 5th. That's where we came from, farther down that green valley. And we wind along the hillside and then climbed up here to this little lake. And then up there is where we're going. Just around the corner is Thousand Islands Lake and Island Pass, which is named after the lake. And right over there is Jakota, where we stopped and ate lunch. We've gone 11 miles so far today. We have about 11 more that we're gonna go, and we're gonna do 2 passes, Island and Donahue. We're about 2 miles from Island Pass, and then the passes are really close together today. There's only 4 to 5 miles between them, so I think we're 7 miles from Donahue.
Somewhere up there, I think must be where Island Pass is. This is Thousand Island Lakes, which is where it's got its name from. Yeah. So far today's going pretty good, and the view's pretty nice, but we're coming up on some other people, so I'm probably gonna have to stop the video. Sunday, July 5th. We made camp early just off over there in those trees, so we decided we would go wade in the river. It's a pretty warm day and the bugs aren't too bad. They're a little obnoxious, but not too bad. So wading in the river will let us clean our feet, and yeah, something to do when you make camp early. Monday, July 6th. We hiked about 8 miles to where we met the support vehicles, and then we went into a town named after somebody, can't remember his name. Lee Vining or something like that. We ate at the Monocone, which is pretty good. They had ice cream, which is nice, and any town food at this point is always good. Then we went to an RV park where we'll be staying the night. Resupplied, charged our electronics, did laundry, showers, and all that good stuff. Then we went to like Nicely's restaurant or something, again another pretty good restaurant. Now we are checking out like the Mono Lake Tufu State Reserve or something. They have these strange rocks, which you can probably see slightly in the background. Yeah, so pretty easy day today. Lots of town food. Not too many miles, but not a Nero either, so that's something. And then this kind of interesting park. Okay, we thought since we have been using our tents for a while now, we would do a quick gear review on them, I guess. So my tent is made by like Andake or something. It is smaller than Jerica's tent, which is made by Geertop. Compare them to a water bottle, I mean, they are bigger than a water bottle, but both of them are at least reasonably sized compared to it. I mean, I think they both fit in most side pockets on backpacks. The Andake is smaller and I believe lighter out of the two. And I believe mine was, the Andake was also cheaper. I think mine was only cost like $80. Do you know how much yours cost? So the Geertop I think was probably a bit over 100.
Yeah,
so
say 100, 150.
Both of them were cheap. Well, at least fairly cheap for, you know, ultralight one-person tents. But the Andake was cheaper, is smaller, and I believe lighter. The Geertop requires at least 2 poles, although you can use hiking poles to set it up, whereas the Andake only requires 1 pole. So we'll quickly set them up and then show you what they look like and talk a bit more about them. Okay, here's my tent fully set up. So I said it only takes one pole, and that I guess might not be 100% accurate. You do need some pole here to hold up the front. I just bought a pole, although you can use a hiking pole if you want. I originally was planning on not hiking with hiking poles, so I bought a separate pole to do that. But it also does come with this pole back here. It folds down fine. As I said, it comes with a tent. It fits in the same bag as the stakes and is needed to help lift up the foot box of the tent. So I guess it technically does use 2 poles. As far as stakes go, you don't need to use as many stakes as I currently have. Let's see, you would need these back 3, then 4, 5, 6. So I think you'd need 7 stakes to get it to stand up, but there's an optional 4 more stakes. One optional stake is here. It just helps pull out the bathtub flooring a bit and give the tent a bit more shape. Not super critical, but kind of nice to have. And then these 3 lines out here, which I think just help hold the fly away from the tent, so help making sure the inside of the tent actually stays dry when it rains. With those wires, I mean, takes up a little more space, and it's more stakes. So again, it's not required, but I don't know. So all in all, I think the tent works fairly well. I mean, it's not terribly roomy on the inside, but it is just a 1-person tent, so got some room for your head. Then not much space down by the feet. I am under 6 feet tall, and I'd say the tent is almost maybe too small for me. So if you are tall, it's probably going to be too small for you. But I mean, I can keep a fair amount of stuff in here with me while I'm sleeping too. So up by the head, I think there's a fair amount of space. It is the general shape of the tent will allow you mostly to sit up near the head. But again, even sitting up, it's almost too short for me, and I'm not a very tall person. So the fly does only open on the one side, so it only has the one vestibule. I've never tried to put my backpack inside the vestibule. I imagine it would fit, but I don't know. It might be a little small for that. So that does bring up the whole thing with the fly. The fly is a separate piece and can be detached. So it is a double-walled tent, which can help with the condensation. However, I think this must be the second iteration of this tent that they made. And the first iteration, people were really complaining, I guess, that it was somehow hard to set up. So I think they tried to simplify that with this version of the tent. And their method to make it easier to set up, I think, made it so you can only set it up with the fly attached. Because these here, these cords, which attach to the stakes to hold up, are only on the fly. If you take them off, the tent just has these buckles. I mean, you might be able to, I guess, somehow get this string and tie it around the stakes or something. So maybe you could rig some way to set up the tent without the fly. But basically, it's much easier just to keep the fly always on and only set it up with the fly. Yep. So that was a bit strange and maybe a little less than ideal. The other thing is, in order to get this to actually sit up nice, tall, and taut, I had to kind of have the pole where it goes almost inside the tent. It's inside and so it starts on the outside, but then you travel up and you actually go inside the tent, so you can never actually fully zip the tent. So far, I haven't had really any issues with that. No bugs or anything seem to get in, but it is a little bit odd. They did have, this strange cup thing up there, and I thought at first, you're just supposed to stick the pole through the cup thing, but whenever you do that, the inner mesh sags down a lot, and it's just not very usable. So you have to do this strange half in, half out pole setup thing. One thing I do like though is tripping on these wires. I do that all the time. How the fly like really sucks down to the ground, and I don't know. It just seems like it maybe help the water from rolling back under the tent. So if this is on a slope or something, the way this is almost like tight to the ground might help less water go back under the tent. So all in all, I'm fairly happy with my tent. It does have its quirks and maybe takes a bit more time to set up than Jerica's tent, but I don't know, it's cheaper, it's lighter, it's smaller, and so far it just seems to be working fine. So, yep. Well, I do not regret buying my tent, and I think it's working well for me. I do imagine most people will probably prefer Jerica's tent. It's probably the better tent for most people.
So this is the geertop tent fully set up. I really like it. I think it's the better of the two tents. I was looking for a few things that slightly differently than Jakota was though when I bought it. I don't really remember what I paid for it or even how I found out about this tent, as it was not one of the ones commonly listed. I needed a tent that would be big enough for me and my dog, so I couldn't have one as small as Jakota's. If you can see how there, I have plenty of room at the foot of my bed, which is where I'll usually have my dog Willow sleep. So I had a mat for her, and then this quilt can be opened up fully, so when it's cold she can share it with me, or if I don't sleep with my puffy jacket on, I can cover her with my puffy jacket. So while it is still a one-man tent, it has enough spare room that I knew my dog could fit. I also liked that it had double doors and double vestibules, so on the fly I can put down the front and it be a vestibule as well, which means that I can put my bag out of the rain if I want and still be able to get in and out of the tent, and that I can get out from either side, which I just appreciate. I also wanted the fly to be fully separate, and so I can pitch the tent as just the tent and fly, or even just the fly. If I'm just pitching the tent, I only need 4 stakes, so it requires a lot less stakes than Jakota's and is a lot quicker to put up. I've been able to get my tent up in a couple places where he wasn't able to get enough stakes in, so it is a little bit more versatile in that way. The fly does require a few more stakes or guidelines out. I wanted the fly and tent to be separate so that I would have more choices. I didn't know how my dog would take to being in a tent. I've had a dog who's run through the screen before, so I knew that if the fly was separate, I could always pitch just the fly when I was with her and still have rain protection, but then she wouldn't be able to damage the tent. And all the time in the desert, so like the first 700 miles, I only put the fly on maybe 3 times, and it was really nice to be able to just have a breeze at night and have that air. I think I was a lot cooler than Jakota was because I didn't have to have the fly on it. I've been using the fly since we got to the Sierras. It's been a lot colder, a lot more chance of rain, and here in this campground I'm just doing it for privacy from the group that's right over there.